some sort of demonic cricket that... Oh my God! It's fleeing! Oh, it's now it's hiding somewhere in the darkness, waiting for nightfall. I can't sleep here.
Welcome back to Director's Choice. Everyone loves the grass to grace story, but Schitt's Creek tells the entertaining journey of a wealthy family going from grace to a soft landing on grass. At the center of the drama and laughter, we have one of the most loved characters in modern TV, David Rose.
I'm gonna need a stiff drink to get through this. Stiff.
Melodramatic to the T, with a beautiful smile to pair his stylish appearance, David Rose is no doubt one of the most relatable elder brother characters ever, even though a lot of us can't relate to his designer-packed closet. The first son of the formerly wealthy Rose family, and an annoying yet doting brother to his only sister Alexis, David is the embodiment of everything you would expect from someone whose privileges got taken away, and everything you wouldn't expect. Beneath his perfectly styled hair, David Rose's psychology goes past the bratty behavior and closed-off personality.
Yeah, funky is a neon t-shirt you buy at an airport gift shop next to a bejeweled iPhone case. This is luxury.
In today's episode of Director's Choice, our spotlight is on one of the center characters of Schitt's Creek, who brightens the screen with his colorful personality and not-so-colorful outfits. From becoming a small-town resident to settling in and finding love, we are going to take a closer look at how the events of his life have contributed to defining the man that is David Rose. Why does he avoid connections with other people? How does his relationship with his sister affect him as a person? Here's the complete breakdown of David Rose's psychology. David Rose is the first child of the Rose family and the only son. That position already puts a lot of pressure on him, but the almost dysfunctional way his family worked before they went broke doesn't allow him to experience a lot of responsibility early on.
I have asked you thrice now for a towel so that I may wash this town off my body. Do you think I want to be here?
David curated for his gallery in New York City until the new realization hit that he wouldn't be able to afford the lavish lusciousness of his old lifestyle. On the surface level, it seems like David is the most affected by this new situation, but it only plays out for his character development. While the rest of his family struggles with accepting the financial aspect, David fights the most internal battles. First, he has to adapt to living in closer quarters with his entire family than he ever had to before the world came crashing down. Their living situation causes a lot of friction, but that eventually brings the Rose family closer, which goes a long way in helping David find the grounding to branch out and seek other social connections.
Okay, well, we're gonna be selling this town, so it's gonna be someone else's problem soon.
But it's such a great place to live.
I think you're funny.
Back in New York, he had crafted an aesthetic image, and the wealth they had given him a spot in society. But it had always felt inadequate for someone who couldn't make connections while having money. Not having money only made it more difficult for David. David picks up challenges that grabs his attention, and though he is likely to complain the entire time, he makes sure to put his best foot forward in every attempt.
Tell me, David, why do you want this job?
I don't want this job.
In trying to balance his old lifestyle with the new environment he is in, David comes across as selfish and narcissistic because of his sheltered world back in New York. But the people he meets at Schitt's Creek accept the challenge of poking at his barricade to get through to the sweet, kind-hearted, and loving man beneath the armor of aloofness.
Well, we'll just have to have a birthday and graduation celebration all in one.
Yeah, I'm very uninterested in that option.
David Rose describes himself as the black sheep of the family. This description may be correct when referring to his dressing and the fact that he has a darker hair color than the rest of his family. But David's personality doesn't actually reflect any typical black sheep behavior. On the contrary, while settling into life at Schitt's Creek, David finds himself struggling to get past years of feeling inadequate and a lot of distrust and hurt.
No, this is very serious. My heart has not rested in a long time. My immune system is very low. I have not been able to find kale anywhere here.
How long are we going to be talking about you for?
I think I'm having a heart attack, is what's happening.
Navigating life in the small town of Schitt's Creek and the even smaller motel he lives in with his family takes a strain on David Rose. He finds it harder to hide his insecurities and fears, all the things that make him vulnerable, because there is literally nowhere to hide. At first glance, it doesn't seem like he has a single bone of vulnerability in his body. David doesn't waste time dishing out his wicked sarcasm and letting his distaste for people show, sometimes including his family.
Okay, I have never heard someone say so many wrong things, one after the other, consecutively in a row.
This mask makes people judge him for being arrogant, selfish, and narcissistic before getting to know what he is really like as a person. Or at least, that's what happened back in the big city, where David needed to stir things up to be noticed and acknowledged. But in Little Schitt's Creek, he has to accept the comfort of his new best friend, Stevie, while expanding his relationships with his sister. David's reluctance to let people in is not entirely misplaced. When you put his background, dysfunctional family, and lack of social connections into view, with the way his circle is carefully selected, it is easy to understand why David is so protective of who he lets into his space. He had a history of disappointments, and he was quick to become emotionally invested when he liked someone, so it made sense that he decided to keep people at arm's length. It makes sense, but that doesn't mean it is healthy.
I've been burned so many times, I'm basically the human equivalent of the inside of a roasted marshmallow.
Even as he deals with the ghosts of pain from his past, David doesn't let it keep him down, and he does his best in his own way to make the most of life at Schitt's Creek. And if the growth of his business was anything to go by, David's mission was successnight.
Hi,
I can
you guys
hear
are being
you
super
through the
loud
headphones.
right now. So if you can just wrap it up in here.
10 to a 5. Thanks.
Night-night.
I feel good about this.
Establishing a positive friendship with Stevie played a huge role in helping David find himself. Accomplishing milestones in the places he worked at was great for David's self-esteem, but Stevie gave him the emotional bandwidth to express himself without judgment. In the development of his relationship and closeness with Alexis, David found himself connecting with people better.
What's the name of the mouthy kid at the front desk?
I don't know. I'm trying very hard not to connect with people right now.
The purity of David's interactions with the people in his life allowed him to grow into the right mental space to be in an actual relationship with Patrick. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Development is the way he doesn't actually get swept up in the waves of mental turmoil that he experiences. David is a hypochondriac who exaggerates any slight glitch to his physical health, and in the first few seasons of the show, this cautiousness extends to his emotional and mental health. He was wary of getting close to people and kept himself closed in. With time and help from Stevie and Alexis, David began to open up.
Ew. Shh. Why is it dark? Shh. It's like a witch's house in here, David.
Shush!
What's going on?
I am on day 2 of a panic attack, and I have not slept at all.
By the time David opened his own business, he had gained better social skills, and his likable qualities became more pronounced. David Rose had risen above the current limitations he faced, and his support system remained as strong as ever.
Is everybody here or other people coming?
I don't know. Is anyone else coming?
No, this is it. In case you didn't know, I'm wildly popular. Some might even venture to call me beloved.
David's sexuality is such an essential part of his personality, and while it does not define him, it plays a role in his mental process.
Good to see you too. Yeah. Oh.
Growing up,
okay.
David didn't have to deal with homophobia from his family and immediate social circle, so he has always been able to embrace his identity for most of his life.
Yeah, so you're just really open to all wines.
I like the wine and not the label. Does that make sense?
Yes.
David is able to express himself and be confident in his preferences without fear of judgment. Although his other insecurities come into view, David's background allows him to stay true to himself, and it extends into his personality and professional choices. David can be very decisive about what he wants and doesn't want, what he likes and doesn't, and to a large extent, it is because of the comfort he gets from being the most real version of himself when he is with his family and friends.
I need that bed.
Why?
Because I need it.
Why?
Because if someone were to break in here in the middle of the night wanting to murder us, they would attack this bed first. So I need this bed.
David's presentation of his sexuality, especially being pansexual in a social environment that doesn't try to tame, is a steadying balance to his mental health. And it really allows him to be a rock-solid anchor for Patrick, as his future husband, then boyfriend, was still in the process of coming out to embrace his sexuality.
Okay, what you're dealing with is very personal. And it's something you should only do on your terms. Okay?
Patrick's coming out process proved to be a very vital point in the growth of David's character. David understood the fear and anxiety his partner was feeling, and chose to wait by his side rather than try to nudge the process. It all goes to show that David had not just been settling into Schitt's Creek, but he had become a better person while at it.
I would hardly call myself an expert on this subject. And by subject, I mean genuine human emotion. So I am just going to tell you what I know.
Healthy relationships were a somewhat unknown concept to David Rose early in the show. Put together his history of insecurity and distrust, and it is almost too predictable that David hadn't always gotten in the best relationships. David's longest relationship before Patrick was with Sebastian Rain, who turned out to be a manipulator and was really toxic. Then Stevie, David, and Jake got into a messy polyamorous relationship after David and Stevie gave their friends with benefits arrangement a disastrous attempt.
Pony.
Hey. Wow, you look good. Who's this guy?
This is that's
Patrick?
That's Patrick.
Luckily, David had a great friendship with Stevie after the drama of their relationship was over, and he had also seen a glimpse of what a healthy relationship could be. But it wasn't until meeting Patrick Brewer that David knew what it was like to love and be loved. Patrick, just as he was launching Rose Apothecary, his business, couldn't have been more perfectly timed because David had just gotten some level ground in his new environment. Things were falling in place, and Patrick fell right in with them. Although they had their fair share of arguments and fights, so much that fans thought they would split, Patrick and David kept finding their ways back to each other.
David, what time is Patrick's housewarming tonight?
You'll have to ask him. He told me he doesn't want my help, so I'm just gonna play the supportive partner and watch him fail.
Patrick and David later got married, and the entire timeline of their relationship is a semblance of how David's life began to pick up and become better up until the happy ending.
I am suffering romantically right now. And there was a minute when I thought I would never have to look at another dating app, and here you are shoving bumpkins in my face.
David's personality came in a full circle of positivity as he continued to grow within his relationship with Patrick. They could depend on each other, and Patrick gave David the comfort and support to be himself by complementing his personality in the best ways.
You're my Mariah Carey.
That compliment could bring me to tears, but I'm not gonna let it.
David Rose has a personality that layers like an onion. For each part you see, there's something more lying beneath the surface. He keeps a very close distance around himself, but when life hurts us, it is almost inevitable that we clam up against ourselves and avoid the same situations. And that's where the highlight of his character arc comes in, which is friendship. With a friend like Stevie, it is easy to imagine that you can be anything while maintaining the consciousness of your reality.
Yeah, you know what? I want to do this year after year after year. Was it the lying in the mud part, or was it wearing the clothes that smell like menthol cigarettes and body odor?
David was able to work towards reciprocating the emotions and accepting the help of those he cared about in his circle. If you have the same problem with being vulnerable, you can learn to let people in by taking a page of David's book and seeking out friendships with positive energies, where you can be the purest version of yourself.
Excuse me, this is my store. Who are you?
I'm Darlene's cousin. Who the are you?
My God.
David Rose has a wholesome personality, and that shows just how much he has been willing to let go of in favor of finding comfort and happiness. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us on the breakdown of David Rose's psychology. Take a look at this other recent clip by Director's Choice, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified with our latest videos.
For we're all jolly good people, for we're all jolly good people, for we're all jolly good people.